You know what's crazy? Rude comments can sneak up on you in the middle of an ordinary day. Maybe it's a stranger online, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's even a family member. And suddenly you feel that heat rising in your chest, your mind racing with comebacks you'll regret later. And I get it, because I've been there too. That moment where someone's words try to push you out of your peace. It feels unfair, like they're hijacking your emotions. But here's the thing. I realized, just like the title of this video says, responding to rude comments without losing your cool isn't about letting people walk over you. It's about learning to stand tall, hold your ground, and not let their chaos drag you into a place you don't belong. It's not easy, but it's powerful. So today I want to share what I've learned, how I flipped the script. Instead of reacting, instead of proving myself, I started asking, how can I protect my energy in this moment? How can I respond in a way that shows strength, not weakness? Because when you master this, you don't just win the argument, you win back control over yourself. You know, when you really think about it, rude comments are not just about the words someone throws at you. They're a mirror. They reflect more about the person saying them than about you. But here's the trap. If you don't understand this, you'll take those words and make them your own. You'll internalize their frustration, their insecurity, and suddenly you're carrying baggage that was never yours to begin with. The first time I realized this, it hit me hard. I used to let rude comments get under my skin so badly. Someone would insult me, question my decisions, or throw shade at something I was building, and I'd replay those words in my mind for hours, sometimes even days. I'd walk into another conversation already defensive, already carrying that poison. It was exhausting. Then I started asking myself, why am I giving them so much power? Why am I letting someone who doesn't even know the whole of my story decide how I feel about myself? That's when I learned one of the most important truths. You can't always control what people say, but you can absolutely control whether their words plant roots in your mind. Think about it like this. Your mind is like a garden. Every word you hear is a seed. If you allow every rude comment to stay, it starts growing weeds that choke out your peace, your confidence, and your clarity. But if you're intentional, if you choose not to water those weeds, they die. And instead, you can plant seeds that actually matter. Words of encouragement, truths about who you are, reminders of your goals. But here's where it gets tricky. Because the first instinct when someone is rude to you is to fight back, to clap back, to prove them wrong. And sometimes, let's be real, it feels good in the moment. You drop a comeback that shuts them up, and for a split second, you feel like you won. But what really happened? You lost control. You let their words dictate your actions. You stepped into their chaos and matched their energy. And deep down, you know you're better than that. So how do you rise above without feeling like you're just being passive? That's the balance most people miss. The answer is not silence for the sake of silence. It's intentionality. It's about choosing your response in a way that keeps your dignity intact. One technique that helped me is pausing before responding. Simple, but powerful. The pause gives your brain time to shift from reaction to reflection. Science even backs this up. The amygdala in your brain is what triggers that fight or flight reaction when you feel attacked. But if you give yourself even a couple of seconds, you let your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles logic and reasoning, step in. That pause is the difference between a regretful outburst and a controlled, confident response. I remember a time when someone threw a really rude comment at me during a business meeting. The old me would have jumped in defensively, probably escalating the tension. But instead I paused, looked at them, and calmly asked, "What do you mean by that?" You should have seen their face. They expected me to fire back, but my calmness disarmed them. Suddenly, they were the one fumbling for words. That's the power of staying in control. You shift the energy of the whole interaction. Another practical thing is reframing rude comments in your mind before they even land. Instead of thinking they're attacking me, start telling yourself, this is about them, not me. Because, let's face it, people who lash out often have battles inside they haven't dealt with. Hurt people hurt people. Insecure people criticize. Jealous people minimize. Once you see that, you stop personalizing their behavior. It's like putting on emotional armor. Their arrows bounce off because you know they were never aimed at your truth. But here's the part I want you to really take with you. Responding without losing your cool doesn't mean you don't respond at all. Sometimes you need to set boundaries. And that's perfectly okay. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They're fences that protect the garden of your peace. You can respond with strength and clarity without lowering yourself to rudeness. You can say, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way," or "That comment wasn't helpful. Let's focus on the issue." You don't need to match their tone. Your calmness is your strength. I've also learned to use humor sometimes, not sarcasm, the kind that cuts back, but light humor that diffuses tension. If someone makes a rude comment, sometimes I'll laugh and say, "Wow, tell me how you really feel," and just move on. It signals that their words didn't break me, and often it shifts the energy of the whole room. Now here's where it goes deeper. The way you respond to rude comments is not just about that one moment. It's about the identity you're building. Every response is a vote for the kind of person you want to be. Do you want to be someone who's constantly reactive, letting other people's negativity steer your emotions? Or do you want to be the kind of person who walks into a room steady, grounded, and unshakable? Because every time you choose calm over chaos, you're casting a vote for that stronger identity. I think about it like training a muscle. At first, it's hard. You slip up, you lose your cool. But if you keep practicing, pause, breathe, respond with clarity, you build emotional strength. Over time, it becomes second nature. And when people notice that they can't get under your skin anymore, something shifts. They start respecting you more, even if they don't admit it. And let me tell you, the freedom that comes with that is priceless. You stop living on defense. You stop feeling like the world is out to get you. You start walking in your power because you know no matter what someone throws your way, you have the tools to handle it. You've probably heard me say this before. Your attention is your energy. Where your focus goes, your life flows. And this is why protecting your energy isn't just some vague, feel-good idea. It's survival. It's strategy. It's the difference between moving forward with clarity and staying stuck in the mud of other people's drama. Think about this. Every time you react to something, you're making an investment. Your reaction is like a check you're writing with your energy. The question is, who are you writing it out to? If it's to a rude stranger, a negative comment online, or some pointless argument, congratulations. You just gave away a piece of yourself, and you're not getting that back. But if you invest that same energy into your purpose, your vision, or even into peace, it multiplies. It compounds like interest. I had to learn this the hard way. There was a season when I wasted so much energy fighting battles that weren't even mine. Someone would criticize me on social media, and I'd spend half a day crafting the perfect comeback. Or someone in my circle would be negative, and I'd replay their words all night instead of sleeping. By the end of the week, I wasn't just tired. I was drained. Not because I was working too much, but because I was leaking energy everywhere. It's like carrying a bucket of water with holes in it. It doesn't matter how much you pour in. If you don't plug the leaks, you'll stay empty. Protecting your energy means finding those leaks and sealing them shut. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They think protecting energy is about cutting everyone off, isolating themselves, or avoiding anything uncomfortable. That's not it. Protecting your energy isn't about fear. It's about wisdom. It's about recognizing what feeds you and what drains you, and then choosing intentionally. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you start your day scrolling on your phone, and the first thing you see is a flood of negative news, rude comments, or envy-inducing posts. How do you think your energy feels after that? Even before you've had breakfast, you've already spent your emotional currency on things that don't give you any return. Now flip it. Imagine you start your day in prayer, journaling, or even reading something uplifting. That same energy now has direction, power, focus. The difference isn't luck. It's stewardship. One of the books that shaped my perspective on this is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. He talks about the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. Most people spend their energy on the circle of concern, things they can't control, like politics, gossip, or someone else's opinion. But the wise invest in the circle of influence, things they can control, their habits, their mindset, their work. Protecting your energy is basically choosing which circle you'll live in. And let's tie this back to science for a moment. Neuroscience shows that your brain consumes about 20% of your body's energy, even at rest. Every decision, every emotional reaction is burning calories, using glucose, consuming real fuel. This isn't metaphorical, it's biological. Which means when you let yourself get pulled into every negative comment, you're literally draining the battery of your brain. No wonder you feel exhausted at the end of the day, even if you didn't do much physically. Protecting your energy is really about protecting your brain's fuel. Now here's where it connects with something deeper. The Bible says in Proverbs 4 verse 23, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." That's not just poetry, it's instruction. Guarding your heart is guarding your energy, because the heart in biblical language often means your inner life, your focus, your core. If you let junk flow in, junk flows out. If you protect it, you live from overflow. So how do you actually protect your energy in a practical way? Here's how I began applying it in my own life. I started asking myself one simple question every time I was about to react. Is this an investment or a leak? If I pour energy here, will it multiply or will it vanish? And that single filter has saved me from countless arguments, wasted hours, and emotional hangovers. For example, let's say someone throws a rude comment at me. If I invest energy in clapping back, what happens? Maybe I win the moment, but I lose the bigger game because now I'm drained, distracted, and off mission. But if I choose to ignore it and focus on my work, my calling, my peace, that energy compounds into something greater. That's how you turn your attention into a multiplier instead of a leak. And let me tell you this, the most successful people you admire are not necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They're the ones who learned how to protect their energy. They don't get sucked into every fight, every distraction, every emotional roller coaster. They channel their energy like a laser, not a light bulb. A light bulb spreads energy everywhere, but a laser focuses it in one direction. And that focus can cut through steel. I want you to imagine for a moment, what would your life look like if you stopped leaking energy on things that don't matter? If you stopped letting rude people, petty arguments, and distractions pull you out of your zone? If you reclaimed all that attention and reinvested it into your goals, your growth, your peace? That's not a small shift. That's a transformation. Because here's the truth. Energy is the real currency of life. Time is valuable, yes, but time without energy is useless. You can have all the hours in the day, but if you're drained, they won't amount to anything. Protecting your energy is how you make time matter. So the next time someone throws negativity your way, I want you to remember this. You're not just choosing whether or not to respond. You're choosing whether or not to invest your energy. And your energy is too precious to waste. Here's something I had to learn the hard way. Not every attack needs a counterattack. Sometimes the strongest stance you can take is neutrality. Neutrality doesn't mean weakness, it means strength under control. It means you're choosing not to let someone else set the tone of your spirit. Picture this. Someone throws a rude comment at you, maybe online, maybe at work, maybe even at a family gathering. The old version of you might fire back, trying to prove them wrong, trying to win the argument. But here's the problem. The moment you fire back, you've already handed over your energy. You've given them exactly what they wanted, your reaction. Now imagine a different scenario. They throw the jab, and instead of reacting with fire, you meet them with neutral words like, "I hear you. Interesting point. Noted." Short, calm, and stripped of emotional fuel. You don't add wood to their fire. You don't bend under their weight. You stand. And in that standing, you disarm them. Because here's the truth. People who come at you with negativity are expecting a fight. They're expecting you to react. When you don't, it throws them off balance. Think about a boxer winding up for a punch but hitting air because their opponent never swung back. That's what neutrality does. It takes away their rhythm. I remember a time when someone left a harsh comment on one of my videos. My first instinct was to defend myself, to explain why they were wrong. But instead, I just replied, "Thanks for sharing your view." That was it. Guess what happened? Silence. The fight ended before it began, not because I destroyed them with logic, but because I didn't play their game. Neutrality is powerful because it shifts the battlefield. It reminds you, I don't have to attend every argument I'm invited to. Just because someone offers me chaos doesn't mean I need to unwrap it. And let's bring science into this. Your nervous system is wired for fight or flight. When someone throws negativity at you, your amygdala wants to jump in, either to defend or attack. But when you pause and respond neutrally, you're engaging your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, reasoning, and self-control. You're literally rewiring your brain to stay calm under pressure. Over time, this builds emotional resilience. Here's a real-life phrasing example. Let's say someone says, "You'll never succeed. You're wasting your time." The reactive response might be, "Who are you to say that? Watch me prove you wrong." That feels good in the moment, but it burns energy. Instead, a neutral response could be, "Noted." One word. That's all. It communicates, "I heard you, but I'm not carrying your baggage." Another example, someone criticizes your work at the office, not with constructive feedback, but with sarcasm. You could snap back and escalate tension. Or you could say calmly, "I hear you," and then redirect the conversation back to the work itself. You keep the power. You keep the frame. Even Jesus modeled this. When he was accused, mocked, and even put on trial, he didn't always defend himself. Sometimes he stayed silent. Sometimes he answered with calm authority. That wasn't passivity, it was power under discipline. That's the heart of neutrality, knowing you have the strength to fight, but choosing not to, because the fight isn't worth your energy. Now let me give you a business application. Imagine you're negotiating a deal, and the other side throws in a jab like, "Your company is too small to handle this project." If you react defensively, you look insecure. But if you respond neutrally, "Interesting point," and then calmly present your value, you've disarmed the attack. You've shown that their attempt to shake you failed. That's how neutrality becomes a competitive advantage. And it's not just about business. It works in family too. Maybe you have that one relative who always says something to get under your skin. Instead of biting back, you say, "Thanks for sharing." Period. The moment passes. They lose their control over your mood. You walk away with your peace intact. I want you to imagine this as a shield. Neutrality is your shield. Every rude comment that comes at you is like an arrow. If you respond with anger, you drop the shield and take the hit. But if you respond with neutrality, the arrow bounces off. You keep walking, unharmed. Here's a quote that stuck with me. "He who angers you, conquers you." When you respond neutrally, you're saying, "No one conquers me but me." You're choosing sovereignty over your spirit. Now, some people worry that neutrality makes you look weak, like you don't care. But here's the paradox. True strength often looks calm. The ocean is stronger than the storm, but it moves with rhythm, not rage. Neutrality is not about apathy, it's about mastery. So let me challenge you. The next time someone throws a rude comment your way, whether in person, online, or even in your own family, practice neutrality. Say one of these phrases. "I hear you." "Interesting point." "Noted." And then stop. Don't explain, don't argue, don't justify. Just hold the line. At first, it'll feel unnatural. Your ego will scream for a comeback. But with practice, neutrality will become your power stance. And you'll find that people lose their grip on you. Their words bounce off instead of sinking in. Protecting your energy was the first step. Responding with neutrality is how you defend that protection in real time. It's how you stay in control, even when the world tries to pull you into chaos. And once you master this, you'll realize that most battles aren't worth fighting, because the war is already won when you refuse to hand over your peace. Before we close, let me tell you a story. There was a young shepherd boy sent by his father to deliver food to his brothers who were soldiers. When he got to the battlefield, he didn't just hear the sound of war, he heard mockery. Not from the enemy at first, but from his own brothers. They ridiculed him, questioning his motives, saying he was arrogant, too young, and had no business being there. Those words were rude, cutting, and meant to push him back into his place. Now, most of us would have reacted. We would have argued, defended ourselves, or tried to prove them wrong. But this boy didn't waste his energy on rude comments. He didn't let his brother's insults dictate his identity. Instead, he turned his focus toward the real challenge, the giant standing in front of the army. You probably know by now who I'm talking about, David, before he faced Goliath. The moment David ignored his brother's mockery and stayed cool, he preserved his energy for the actual battle. And because he didn't get tangled up in defending himself, he was free to use his energy where it mattered most, taking down a giant that the whole nation was afraid of. That's the moral right here. Rude comments are distractions dressed up as attacks. If you let them pull you into emotional arguments, you'll be too drained to fight the battles that really count. But if you can stay neutral, stay calm, and guard your energy, you'll find yourself prepared when the real giants show up in your life. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone throws a rude comment your way, don't ask, "How do I prove myself to them?" Instead ask, "What bigger battle am I being prepared for?" Because often, those little moments of disrespect are tests, not of your strength against them, but of your strength within you. Responding to rude comments without losing your cool isn't about letting people walk over you. It's about walking tall enough that their words can't reach you. That's how you win. That's how you live free.